Let me thank the members of the committee for their public service, which I value deeply. My name is Marc Morial. I currently serve as President and Chief Executive Officer of the National Urban League, headquartered in New York City. I served 8 years as mayor of New Orleans. I served 2.5 years in this body as a Louisiana state senator. And for the record, because I think it's important in this moment, my late great father was the first black person to serve in this body when he was elected in 1967 since Reconstruction. So if I may, Mr. Chairman, I want to begin with a story, which is I came to this Capitol for the first time in 1968. I was 10 years old. I came with my late father as we drove up then Highway 61 in our Sunday best as he was inaugurated to the state legislature. I was a young boy enamored by politics, so I began to spend 2 to 3 weeks after I got out of school with him in this Capitol. In 1970, I became the first black person to serve as a page in this legislature when I worked for the late William Gust, who was a state senator and later Attorney General. Here's what's important. When I came to this Capitol as a 10-year-old boy, every black person that worked in this Capitol had a mop or a broom in their hand, or were carrying a tray of water if they were women, or coffee, or they were shining shoes in the Capitol barbershop. There were 0 women who did anything other than serve as secretaries in this building. When my father served in the state legislature, he offered a bill to delabel blood in Louisiana. Louisiana had a blood labeling statute which required blood to be labeled as either black blood or white blood, and it was illegal to give a white person a blood transfusion with black blood or to give a black person a blood transfusion with white blood. When that bill came up, one of the most awful things happened at the floor in the House of Representatives. And that was a legislator who went to the mic and repeatedly used the N-word on the House floor to oppose the bill. It made national news and embarrassed this state at a difficult time in its history. I returned to this Capitol 20+ years later as a 31-year-old member of the Louisiana Senate. When I came back, this Capitol had changed. We had 30 black members serving. Black people and women were then beginning to serve in positions of responsibility on the staff, as lobbyists, and the executive branch. This state was changing. When I served in this body, black and white legislators, Republican and Democratic legislators fought but worked together to advance the interests of this state. This state was on an arc of change. What this moment feels like to me right now is a reversal, of progress. And let me say it from this perspective, Mr. Chairman and members. I'm a native of this state. I love this state. My family has been in this state since before the American flag flew over this state. But I've spent the last 20 years living in New York City. In my role, I serve on the boards of major corporations. In my role, I chair 8, and have chaired over the last 20 years, 8 corporate advisory boards. For this legislature to be mired in a battle, a pitched battle, over 1 or 2 congressional seats, when we're 48th in education, 49th in health care, have one of the highest poverty rates in the country, where our life expectancies are 48 among the states, when homeowners insurance is exploding, making this place unaffordable, looks like, from the outside, misplaced priorities. In quiet rooms in New York and Chicago, places that control investments, they look down and they say, look at Louisiana. They're having a good old fight to turn the clock back. Are we going to be back here next year with rank partisan gerrymandering to alter the apportionment of these legislative districts? Are we prepared to go back? What I say here today may not impact how any of you vote today. It will impact how you're seen in history. It will impact how this legislature is seen in history. The legislatures in this state in the 1950s and the early 1960s that went to great lengths to resist school integration, to resist the advancement of civil rights, are not seen in anybody's history book as heroes. They're seen as obstructionists. They're seen as people who thwarted the advance of history. So I want you to know how today, as a boy who was here as a 10-year-old, but later came back as a legislator and saw a state I love begin to transform itself and change, sees this moment as an inflection point and the beginning of a tragic reversal, fighting over 1 congressional seat or 2. Not spending a 3-hour hearing on fixing education. Mississippi is now gone to 16th in the country. Not spending the same amount of time on homeowners insurance, or an expansion of health care, or all of the difficult challenges and problems. Where are our priorities? Is it just a battle for power, for the sake of power? The marginalization and the isolation of communities because we can. Not because it's good, not because it's best, not because it's right. What we have to do in the South is learn to share power. Share power. Republicans, Democrats, blacks, whites, the growing Latino and Asian communities, men and women. We have to learn to share power, because that's what democracy is all about. So this debate, this discussion, troubles me from that perspective. Now, to the plan. It's why we have a Voting Rights Act, to create fair opportunity for people to elect representatives of their choice. And so again, I'm honored to be able to testify before this legislature. I wanted to remind you of that moment in 1968 because it was so compelling on a 10-year-old boy. But it was compelling for me to come back and see and be part of change 20 years later. And at that time, I had this great hope that there would never be a day like this, when we be fighting over whether we go forward or whether we try to put the brakes and somehow go backward. So I urge you in this moment to do what your conscience tells you to do. And you can balance it with your politics, because we always do that. And I think you'll get not Mr. Morris's plan. You may not get any. Go get another plan. Go get a good plan. Go put a good plan. It can be done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Morial, and thank you.